Hi guys, this is Miss Lofts, and I am going to do my best to share with you how to get started on your shed kit drawing based upon the instructions and some pointers that I have for you. So first of all, I want you to think about the things that you need to create your drawing. You're going to want to have the instructions for your shed kit. You're going to want to have your architectural ruler. I would also have another nice ruler that's easy to use to draw straight lines, because the architectural ruler is going to be hard because it's just paper. It's going to be hard for you to draw a nice straight line with. I would also suggest that you have a calculator, as there are a few calculations to make, converting inches to feet, etc. And I might also have some scratch paper handy. So the grid paper is the key element for drawing your shed drawing. And you do have several pieces of grid paper that we provided for you. So if you make a mistake, you can start over. So I want to talk with you just a little bit about our expectations, Miss Ewell and I's expectations of your work. I wanted to share with you this scoring rubric for your drawing. I will be posting this with the assignment as well so that you can see and refer to it. Of course, we all want you to do outstanding work. So the drawing's appearance should be neat and easy to read, with clearly labeled lengths of different parts of the building and even other details that you are asked to include in the instructions. The drawing includes all aspects of the explicit instructions. The drawing contents for an outstandingly scored piece are going to include height, length, and width that are labeled with units both full size and scaled down. It will include measurements for details. It will include real world length, width, and height of the building labeled on the drawing. And when we look at your drawing, we can see that there really are no assumptions that are necessary to actually build the model. So this is the rubric. We're going to ask for you to do a self-assessment, and then we will assess it. You cannot get 100% of the points without doing the self-assessment, okay? So with that said, I would like to kind of lead you through the beginning of creating this drawing, a few of the aspects of it to help you understand what it's asking you to do. You will draw and build a 3/4 inch scale model of a small shed. Now, some of you will not be building the scale model of the shed. Some of you will be building something else for our community. Integrated One will be building a scale model of the shed. Unfortunately, because of our current situation, you won't be building it with balsa wood. You will be building it using cardstock, and I will be making a separate video for that build so that you can see my thoughts on how I would go ahead and do that, and the explicit expectations that I have with regard to your build. The real world size of the shed would be 10 feet wide by 10 feet long. The front wall of the shed will have a door opening centered on it, and the rear wall will have a window opening centered on it. The shed will be topped by roof trusses with a 7/12 pitch. I'll talk about that a little bit in another video. As you work with this kit, you will learn how to draw up a floor plan and what would be required for framing residential walls according to building codes. So it gives you a nice overview here. You all have this piece. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to highlight the important things as I'm reading through them for you so that you don't have to focus on the pieces that really are more relevant to the balsa wood. So it gives you a nice drawing of what you're going for. Your scale is 3/4 of an inch equals 1 foot, okay? So these instructions are designed to help you as you draw and build your shed. Keep the following tips in mind as you work. Be sure to reach each step completely before you begin that step. So I would say that's probably maybe number one of importance, because these steps are very explicit and offer you a great deal of support as you move forward with this project. If you have any questions or do not understand any instruction, ask your teacher for help. You are all required to meet with us once a week. You can ask us at that point. You can also schedule individual times with us to meet. So you can also email your questions, or both Ms. Ewell and I have provided our phone numbers. You can text us your questions. So really there's lots of access for answering your questions. So you won't need to wear safety glasses because you're not using the balsa wood or the tools associated with that. So really the rest of these are focused on the build, and that will be different for us. Okay? Page 3 has a terminology that I referred to in the previous video. You'll want to make sure you know that. There is a quiz sheet on that. Okay? Page 4 also has truss terminology. So you're going to be focused on that as well. And actually, let me quickly highlight those pieces. You'll want to make sure that you have reviewed this and read every part of it so that you know what they're talking about as you read through the document. Okay, designing the sidewalls. To mark the corners of your walls on your grid paper, you're going to follow these instructions. So I'm going to highlight that. Each sidewall will take up 7 inches horizontally on the paper. Therefore, for 2 walls, you will use 14 inches of the 17-inch width of the paper. To begin drawing, lay the paper lengthwise facing you. Count up 16 squares from the bottom left corner of the paper, and then count over 2 squares. Make a mark at that point. Using the 3/4 inch equals 1 foot scale, measure over 9 feet 4 inches from that mark, and make another mark. These 2 marks are the boundaries for 1 wall. Now, go to the right corner of the paper and count up 16 squares and in 2 squares. Make a mark. Using the scale, measure to the left 9 feet 4 inches from the mark and make another mark. These 2 marks are the boundaries for the other wall. So, again, I read the directions completely. So I'm going to count up 16 squares. 1, 2, starting from the left corner. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And I'm going to go into, and I'm going to make a mark. Okay? And then I'm going to go to the right corner of my paper, and I'm going to count up 16 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and I'm going to go into, right? Right there is my mark. Okay? Now, I'm going to measure over 9 feet 4 inches. So here's my 3/4 scale. I can see it right there. So I am going to use that. Remember, these are our small measurements over here. So this is another foot here, right? And so 1 inch is one of these longer hash marks. So 1, 2, 3. So as we can see, where there's a longer hash mark, that's 3 inches there. So I'm going to measure over 9 feet 4 inches. So I'm going to put my mark right here on my 9. And 4 inches is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to have a mark right there. Okay? And I'm going to take my nice straight edge, that is my regular ruler, and I'm going to start here, and I'm going to draw over. Okay? There we go. Next, I'm going to take my 3/4 scale, and I know I have to have this on my 4 inch mark, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to make a mark on my 9 inch. And these should line up pretty good. It could be a little bit off, but the grid marks and the ruler are both 3/4 scales, so hopefully they'll be pretty good. Although the ruler, you know, it's paper, so we'll do our best here. Okay, so from here to here, I'm going to draw my line. There we go, just like that. All right, I believe I've taken care of step number 1. Using the scale, make a mark 92 inches up from each of your base marks to indicate the wall height. So we're gonna have to do some conversion because how many feet are in 92 inches? That's a really good question. And we need to know how many inches are left over with regard to how many feet. So let me start by taking our 92 inches and divide that by 12. So 92 inches equals, I can see that I have 7 feet here. I have a really long decimal here and I really want this in inches. So that's in feet. That's in 0.66666 feet, right? So I know that I have 7 feet. Well, what is 7 feet in inches? 7 times 12, that's 84 inches. So really what I'm wondering is what's left over if I have 92 inches and I subtract 84 inches? What do I have left over as far as inches go? So let's check that out. 92 minus 84, okay? I have 8 inches. So my measurement of 92 inches is 7 feet, 8 inches, okay? This is why I want the scratch paper and my calculator so I can do these calculations and create my drawing. So my step 2 is mark the wall height. To do that, I have to use this figure right here and my scale. So let's do that. So I got my 3/4 scale. It's right here. I know that I need 7 feet. So 7 feet up. So reading from left to right, there's my 7, there's my 0, and I know I'm gonna have 8 inches here, okay? So I got 7 feet, and there's my 7, and there's my 8 inches, okay? And I wanna do the same over here. So here's my 7. There's my 7. And there's my 8 inches. Okay. And while I've got this ruler, I'm going to do the same thing for this wall because it's going to be the same height. So I'm going to go, there's my 7. And then up here, I'm going to make my mark for my 8 inches. And here, I'm going to put my ruler on my 7. And I'm going to make my mark for my 8 inches up here. Okay? Okay, so what I want to do next, so now we're on step 3, designing the walls. This is kind of important because we have to make sure we design in the dimensions of the lumber that we're creating our building with. So you will design these walls following the National Building Code, which specifies 2x4 studs on 16-inch centers for residential construction. 16-inch centers means that the centers of the studs will be 16 inches apart. To accurately represent the 2x4s, you must first determine how thick a 2x4 is. So here in this picture, they show you the balsa wood, and they put the balsa wood on your 3/4 scale so that you can see that it takes up about 2 inches on your 3/4 scale, and it's the same here on our 3/4 scale. So it takes up 2 inches, the width of your 2x4. So if you use a scale, you should notice that the balsa scale stud is 2 inches thick. So as you're creating your drawing, you're going to make the assumption that you're building it with the balsa wood in the end, and you're going to create it with the 2x4 studs. The grid paper you could also use. Each grid represents 4 inches on our scale, and a piece of balsa wood takes up half of 1 square or 2 inches of that square, okay? So this is an important piece right here. You want to be sure you read this and you really kind of decipher what it's telling you, okay? So next we're going to draw the sole plate, okay? The sole plate, which is right here, okay? So we're going to be working on that next. The sole plate is a 2x4 that forms the base of the wall or the bottom of the wall. I'm going to start on the left side of your paper and carefully draw a horizontal line from the first mark you made to the second mark you made. Well, I did that already, right? Using the scale, mark off 2 inches below the line you just drew. Draw a parallel line to the line that you just drew. So of course, I walked away with my pencil. So I'm going to use this scale, my 3/4 scale, and I'm going to draw a line 2 inches. Use my 2-inch mark on my scale ruler. Okay, my 2-inch mark on my scale ruler to draw. Then I want to use my good ruler to actually draw my line. So I make a nice straight line. Okay, and then I'm going to draw the connector line vertically, and that represents my 2x4 right there. Okay. And I want to make sure that they're straight. It's awfully nice to have it neat and tidy. Your work done really well. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to put a mark at our 2-inch on our architectural scale ruler, and a mark at our 2-inch here. Okay, and then I'm going to use this ruler. I'm going to draw my nice line. Okay, and my vertical line. Okay. So somehow I feel like this isn't quite the right length here. It's supposed to be 9/4, 2/4. That's right. And this is supposed to be 9/4. Oh, I think I got this one a little bit long, so let me fix that. This one feels like it's a little long right there. Okay. So double checking your work is a great idea. And then adding your measurement, right? That's what they have on there. They have 9'4". And they have a line that shows us that that indeed is what we're talking about, right? That's our dimension. Okay, here and here, and 9'4". Okay, so I'm learning how to do this right along with you. It's my first time really creating an architectural drawing by hand like this. So it's kind of fun, actually. Okay. So we just created the sole plate for our walls. Now it says right here, our next piece, it says draw the top plate. So the top plate is a 2x4 that sits on top of the studs, on the top of your wall. From the top of each end of the sole plate, using the scale to measure up 92 inches, we did that, you should find your earlier mark. Connect the marks left to right, as you did for the sole plate. Measure up 2 inches and draw a parallel line above the line. So on the sole plate, we drew the line below our sole plate line. But on the top plate, we're gonna draw the line above. So that's kind of important. And I'm gonna talk about why it's important in just a minute. We're gonna close off the parallel lines with 2 short vertical lines, and that makes our 2x4 right here. So that's what we're working on now. So let me come back here to my drawing, and as I look at my marks, I can see that indeed 92 inches up, I find my mark, and I'm gonna draw my line. I'm probably gonna remeasure it just to make sure I get the right length. Once I'm ready here, here's my other line. Oops. Sorry if my hair is in the way, I hope not. I'm gonna draw from here over. Right? And then I want to use my scale to measure my 2 inches above this line. So I'm going to use my 3/4 scale, And I'm gonna make my 2 inches above that line and my 2 inches above that line here. 2 inches above that line here. And my 2 inches above that line here. Okay, then I'm gonna take my ruler, I'm gonna draw, and over here, I'm gonna draw my line this direction. Now I'm gonna confirm my length from this edge, you know, because we have, this is a solid spot here. We wanna make sure that from this second box right here, that it's 9.4, right? So this is kind of our vertical line on this side, and this is our vertical line on this side. And from that point, we want it to be 9 feet 4 inches according to the directions. So here's my 3/4 scale. I'm gonna put my mark on my 4 inches over here, and this should go to my 9 inches. So that's, when I took my measurement from here up, that's how far off my ruler was when I made my mark. So this is a great way to help us keep our drawing square, because that's really important. And again, we made our line above that. And so here we're gonna put this on our 4-inch mark. And this over here is gonna be on our 9-inch mark, or our 9-foot mark, sorry. And that's where my vertical line is gonna be, okay? And now we have our top plate and our sole plate for both of our walls, right? Okay, I'm gonna do one more piece of this right now, and then I'm gonna turn it over to you to really focus on following through with reading the directions, following the explicit instructions, and making sense out of them. Before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about the total height of our wall is 8 feet. But from the top of our sole plate, we only added 92 inches, which according to our calculations, we found that to be 7 foot 8 inches. How much short of 8 feet is that? 4 inches, right? So when you think about that, that actually makes sense, because from here, the bottom up, we're adding 2 inches here and 2 inches here. And this is 92 inches. So all together, right, that's going to be 96 inches. And if we take 96 inches, and we divide it by 12, we should get 8 feet. So this makes our wall 8 feet high, okay? So that is going to work for us. Perfect. Now, we are on to step 6. Draw in the first and last stud. Draw a line from the left end of your top plate down to the left end of your sole plate. This line represents the edge of your first vertical stud. Measure in 2 inches and carefully draw a line parallel with the one you just drew. Do not allow the line to cross into either the top plate or the sole plate. Repeat the process at the other end to create the last stud in this wall. Now you have a wall with a sole plate and the bottom, a top plate on the top, a wall with a sole plate on the bottom, a top plate on the top, and a vertical stud at each end. So let's do that real quick. Okay, so what they're saying is, take your pencil and draw a vertical line right here. Does not cross in to your stud at the bottom. And we're going to make our 2-inch mark. Our 2-inch mark right here. And our 2-inch mark right here. We're going to draw another vertical line, and that represents our first stud. Okay, and finally we're going to draw a vertical line from our top plate to our sole plate. And then we're going to use our 3/4 inch, wherever it is. We're going to draw our 2-inch mark. Right, 2-inch mark. And then we're gonna go like this. Okay, one wall, top plate, sole plate, first, last stud, and we'll do it for the other wall, like so. I'm gonna fix my ends there. I'm gonna use my 3/4 inch scale and use my 2-inch mark. Same for this side here and here. Whoops, there we go. And there we go, okay. Whoops, that was down in my sole plate. Okay, so I'm gonna do one more, hopefully short section that shares with you marking the stud placement and maybe drawing in one of the studs. But I want to keep it short as this video is already pretty long, and then I'm gonna make another video that shows you my drawing once I'm done. So if we want to take a look at this, it says mark the vertical stud spacing, number 7. It says, remember the code says the studs must be, that was my dog, sorry about that. The studs must be 16 inches on centers. From the center of the stud on the left side of the wall, measure 16 inches to the right. Well, remember 16 inches is going to be 1 foot 4 inches on our architectural scale ruler. We're going to mark a point along the bottom sole plate at 16 inches. We're going to continue marking 16-inch increments the rest of the way along the wall. We're going to repeat the process across the top plate. As before, measure from the center of the leftmost stud and mark 16-inch increments along the top wall. So as I take my 3/4 inch scale ruler, I'm just only going to do this one wall for now, just to try to keep this short. So I need to mark 1 foot 4 inches. So first of all, here's my 2-inch stud. There's the middle of that, right? And now I'm going to mark 1 foot 4 inches. So there's my 4 inches. 1, 2, 3, whoops, 4. Right there. 1, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right. So I'm going to mark 1 foot 4 inches. And then 1 foot 4 inches all the way along. All the way along my wall. 1 foot 4 inches. 1 foot 4 inches. 1 foot 4 inches. And over here, I should run into the center. Whoops, not quite, huh? My measurements must be a little bit off. Okay, and then I'm gonna do the same thing up here. So I'm gonna go the center of my 2x4 and then my 4-inch mark and my 4-inch mark. Like so. I'm gonna make my marks all along the top plate. And again, we're just gonna do the best we can on this. The architectural ruler on the paper is not the perfect measurement tool, but we hope it's pretty good. Okay? So, next, it says draw in the studs right here. It says, you know where the stud centers are, but now you must mark the studs themselves. Start with a mark for the second stud from the left on the sole plate. So here's the center. Using the scale, measure 1 inch to each side of your 16-inch center mark. This shows the thickness of the 2x4. make the same marks above on the top plate. Connect top and bottom marks to draw the stud. So I'm just going to do a couple of these, and then I'm going to let you do the rest. So here's my 3/4 scale. Here's I'm going to center my mark. So my 2-inch mark, there's 1 inch on one side and 1 inch on the other. Here's 1 inch on one side and 1 inch on the other. And I'm going to do the same up here. And then I'm going to draw my 2 studs in. So there's one, like that, and like so. So I'm going to connect these marks for my stud. Obviously I'm using my stiffer ruler, my better ruler, so that I can draw a nice straight line. Remember, you're going to be graded on your professionalism, how it looks. And so there we go. We have 2 studs and 2 interior studs drawn, and I would draw the rest just like that as I moved across. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to let you continue to work through the packet, reading the directions explicitly and asking questions as you run into any sort of hurdles that you may find. And then you'll want to check back to this assignment for additional video postings as I complete my drawing and share it with you. All right, have fun.